Okay, so this worksheet is to work on helping you guys see the future proche. So there's a tense that we worked on a lot actually in class when we were talking about what you were going to do over the weekend. There's two different future tenses. There's the future proche, which is in English called the near future, and this is like I am going to do something. He is going to do something. Whereas the future is like I will do something. You will do something. She will do something. And really they can be used interchangeably, but the difference is the future plush is for things that are going to happen soon, and the other future is for a little farther down the line, but there's no clear differentiation of what's what, so to some extent they can be used interchangeably. And so we talked about this a lot in class, and it comes up a lot in chapter 2. So I wanted you guys to look at it. And the way you build the future push is there are two parts to it. The first part is a form of the verb aller. Do you remember what aller means?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Doesn't that mean to go?
Yeah, aller means to go. So you need the first part of the future plush is a form of the verb aller. And aller is an irregular verb, so you just kind of have to memorize the form um, for each subject. So do you know how to say I go? You might not. That's okay. I go or I am going.
Would it be, was it just we? Is it, would you say that, or would you say?
So je suis is I am. I
Okay.
go is je vais.
Je
So,
vais.
yeah, so that's the I form. And this can mean I go, but it can also mean I am going. So when we talk about the future tense, it means I am going, and then you use the to form of whatever action you're going to do in the future. So for example, you might say I am going to eat, and then you would say je vais manger.
Okay.
So that's a way of saying the future. And so it looks a little different for each subject. So I'm going to put the form of aller for each subject. So for you to say you are going, it's tu vas. This can be translated in the present tense as you go, or when you're going to make the future as you are going.
Okay.
We practice the he and she form a lot. Do you know how to say he goes or he is going, or she goes, she is going?
Would you say? I know for the for the boys, would you say il va?
Yep. Il va, elle va. You're right. So
Okay.
that is the same for both. So it's he or she is going,
Okay.
right? And so those are the singular forms. And then the plural forms we haven't practiced as much in class. To say we are going, it's nous allons. Okay, so we are going. To say you, plural, y'all are going. What's the subject for you, plural? I
I
say
don't know
y'all.
how. Can I get a hint? What is
Starts the V.
uh? I don't know it. What is it?
Vous.
Vous. Okay.
Vous is the y'all, the you, because remember there's two words for you in French. Tu, which is just one person, and then vous, which is a group of people.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then to say you, y'all are going, it's vous allez. And then the last one is the they form. So they is either il or elle, depending on if it's a group of guys or a group of girls. And to say they are going, it's ils vont. Okay?
Okay.
Are going.
So
Okay.
what happens if it's like boys and girls together?
Then you use the boy form. So if it's a mixed group, you would say il. You only use elle if it's all girls or all feminine things.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the future push has two parts. The first part is going to be one of these different forms of aller. So it's going to depend on the subject, whether it's going to be they, va, Va, whoops, how does that draw? Why didn't that draw? Hold on a second. Va, allons, aller, vont. And the way you know which form of aller is depending on what the subject is, all right?
Mm-hmm.
The second part of the future proche is the to form of whatever action is going to be done in the future. And the grammatical word for the to form is called the infinitive. All right.
Okay.
But we talk about it as like the to form of the verb. So action being done in the future. Whoops. I can spell. All right, so that's like saying to eat, to go, to have,
Mm-hmm.
to see. So like I am going to find my book. I am going to read chapter 3. So you don't say I'm going read, you're saying I'm going to read. So the second part of the future is the to form. And the to form in French, the infinitive, usually, not always, but I'll say like 90% of the time, has one of three endings. It either ends in, the verb either ends in ER, RE, or IR. So, for example, the verb to eat, right, is manger. So in English, we add a word in front of it. We add to. But in French, to show you that it's to eat, it's the ending of the verb, the ER,
Okay.
right? The verb to sleep is a good example of an IR verb. So dormir means to sleep. In English, we put the to in front of it, but in French, it's the ending that shows you that it means to sleep, the IR. We just learned in our movie talk before break the word hears, or maybe that was my French 3. Oh well, it doesn't matter. The word to hear is entendre, and so that's an example of a verb that ends in re. It's the re at the end that tells you it means to hear.
Okay? Oh, okay.
So if I'm going to put together the future proche, I need one of these forms of aller plus the to form of a verb. So for example, if I wanted to say, I am going to watch. How would you put that sentence together? I am going to watch.
So you would say, je.
Yep.
What's the V word again?
They.
Je vais.
Yep.
Je vais.
And then what's the word to watch?
Regarder.
Yep.
Okay.
Je vais regarder. And then the regarder ends in ER because you're saying I am going to watch.
Okay.
Perfect. So how would you say do you remember how to say to wear, like to wear something?
I don't remember that one.
What? Well, how would you say, this is a little tricky. How would you say you are going to go? You, one person, you are going to go.
Would you say to?
Yes.
Or to va.
Then how do you say to go?
To va.
We have you are going. Now we need to go.
So will it end in ER, RE, or IR?
One of those, yep. Look up here because we just wrote it down.
I'm going to to va. Was it Ale?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What if we wanted to say he is going to eat?
Okay. Il
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. My cat just knocked a whole bunch of stuff off the shelf. Il,
Il va,
yep, whoops.
il va manger.
Yep. So you see the future has a subject, a form of the verb aller, and then a to form of whatever actions being done in the future. So what this worksheet is about you seeing that future tense in chapter 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go over the instructions because since they're in French, I think that's something some people had trouble with. Lisez, lisez les phrases du chapitre 2 des Pirates Français des Caraïbes. Do you know what the word lisez mean? What is that telling you to do?
Right.
Close. That's écrivez. But before you write, you just need to
circles, underline.
lisez is read.
Read.
Lisez
Okay.
les phrases du chapitre 2 des Pirates Français des Caraïbes. Read the sentences, right, from chapter 2. Now we get into the instructions. Souligner. Souligner les formes du verbe. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. How do I do? Souligner les formes du verbe aller au présent. What do you think souligner might mean? What did I do to the word in the worksheet?
Oh, you highlighted it?
Well, before. What did I do to it?
I don't get what you're saying.
That's okay. Do you see how it's underlined in the directions?
Yeah.
Souligner means underline.
Oh, that means okay. Let me write it down.
All right. So read the sentences and then underline. Underline les formes du verbe aller au présent. So what are you underlining?
To go, underlining to go from. Are you saying like from the
form? Les formes du verbe aller. Underline the.
Oh, underline the verb.
The forms of the verb aller. So
okay.
When you see these different forms of the verb aller, that's what you're underlining.
Okay.
The next thing is surligner. I wrote what surligner means. What's surligner mean?
Underline.
Nope.
Is that what I mean?
Look here. Where my
Oh,
cursor?
highlight. I see.
Yeah. So highlight, surligner les verbes à l'infinitif. Remember, the infinitive is this to form, right?
Mm-hmm.
The to form of the verb. So underline the form of aller, highlight the infinitive, right?
Okay.
If there are any. Because if it's the present tense, there's not going to be an infinitive. There's only going to be the infinitive when the action is in the future, what you're going to do, right?
Right.
And so the last thing you're going to do, if it has both parts, aller and the infinitive, you're going to write that it's in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's only one part, then the sentence is in the present. So this worksheet's just to help you see that future tense and to know when a verb is in the present or the future, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do like the first two together to give you an idea.
Okay.
So, le navire d'Antoine va se joindre à la flotte espagnole. Do you see a form of the verb aller in that sentence?
I see va.
Va, right? So are you going to underline that or highlight it?
Let me see. I'm a underline it.
Yep. Okay. So do you remember what the word navire means? That's a word we learned in this story.
Yeah, that's the ship, right?
Yeah, so the ship of Antoine, or we'd say in English, Antoine's ship, is going. Se joindre à la flotte espagnole. So do you have a verb that ends in ER, RE, or IR?
Yeah, RE.
Yeah. Joindre. So that you're going to highlight, right? Se joindre. So I know that se joindre is a new word, but it kind of looks like an English word. Do you see an English word in there?
I see join.
Right. So se joindre is to join. It's the to form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have à la flotte espagnole. Flotte was another new vocabulary word from this chapter. Do you remember? So navire is ship. Do you remember what flotte means?
Yeah, that's the fleet of ships, right?
Exactly. So the sentence says, Antoine's ship is going to join the Spanish fleet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you've underlined the form of aller, you've highlighted se joindre, and then the last thing you have to do is write whether that's the future or the present.
Well, this is the future.
Yep. So that's what you would write on the line.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do one. Let's look at number 5.
Okay.
All right. So Philippe dit à Antoine et Charles, mais la flotte espagnole ne va ni à Port-au-Prince à Cuba, ni à Port-au-Prince à Saint-Domingue. La flotte va à la Havane. All right. Do you remember what this word "d" means? D.
That means says, right?
Yep.
Said.
Yep. So Philippe says to Antoine and Charles, mais la flotte espagnole ne va ni à Port-au-Prince à Cuba. That's a typo there. That should say Cuba. Ni à Port-au-Prince à Saint-Domingue. La flotte va à la Havane. Do you see a form of the verb aller in there?
Yeah, I see va.
Yep. So we underline that, right? Va. And that actually is in 2 different sentences, right?
Right.
Now, do you see a form of, or an infinitive, a verb that ends in er, ir, or re?
No.
No. So what does that tell you about this sentence?
It was in the past.
Not the past,
The present.
the present. It's
Okay.
not the future, right? Because the
Present,
future needs
present.
that second part. It's just the present tense of the verb aller. So
Okay.
here it's saying, well, here, let me take that. Present. Here it's saying, Philippe says to Antoine and Charles, but the Spanish fleet isn't going. So like in the present, right now, it isn't going to either Port-au-Prince, Cuba, or Port-au-Prince, Saint-Domingue. The fleet is going to Havana, right? So
Right.
here it's the present tense instead of the future tense. So the difference between the sentences with the future and the present is that there's not going to be that second part.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's how the future proche works, and that's the point of this worksheet. Give me, okay.